Deep in the forests of early 20th century America, railroads existed that barely deserved to be called railroads at all. They twisted through timber stands, clung to mountainsides, and crossed ground that shifted with rain, frost, and rot. These were not permanent rail lines. They were temporary paths carved into wilderness for one purpose only: moving timber out as quickly as possible. And yet, operating on these fragile lines were some of the most extreme American steam locomotives ever built. Logging railroads were fundamentally different from mainline railroads. Track was often laid on dirt, mud, or raw timber with little or no ballast. Curves were extremely tight, sometimes wrapping around trees or following ravines. Grades were steep, uneven, and unpredictable. Maintenance was minimal. Once an area was logged, rails were pulled up and reused elsewhere. Conventional American steam locomotives, designed for stable, well-maintained track, struggled in these conditions. Rigid frames and side rod drive systems amplified every flaw in the rails. Derailments, wheel slip, and mechanical failures were common. In logging operations, speed mattered very little. Trains moved slowly, often uphill, carrying massive loads of raw timber. Momentum could not be relied upon. What mattered was torque, controlled pulling power delivered at extremely low speeds. To achieve this, logging locomotives abandoned traditional rod drives in favor of geared systems. Among American steam locomotives, logging engines represented a radical shift in priorities. Flexibility, traction, and control replaced speed and efficiency. The most recognizable logging locomotive was the Shay. At first glance, it looked unbalanced and unconventional. Its vertical cylinders were mounted along one side of the boiler, driving a crankshaft connected to gears that powered every axle. Because every wheel was powered, the Shay maintained traction even when individual wheels slipped. The articulated trucks allowed the locomotive to follow warped rails, tight curves, and sudden changes in grade. Among all American steam locomotives, the Shay was slow, but it could go places others simply could not. The Climax locomotive took a different approach. Instead of side-mounted cylinders, it used angled cylinders beneath the boiler. These cylinders drove a central shaft that transmitted power to the trucks through bevel gears. This design allowed higher speeds than a Shay, making the Climax useful on longer logging runs. However, the mechanical layout transmitted significant vibration throughout the locomotive. Still, among American steam locomotives built for logging, the Climax represented a trade-off: more speed at the cost of comfort and mechanical strain. The Heisler locomotive refined the geared locomotive concept further. Its V-shaped cylinders were mounted beneath the boiler, driving a central shaft with improved balance. This arrangement reduced vibration and improved tracking on uneven rails. Among extreme American steam locomotives, the Heisler stood out for combining rugged performance with mechanical refinement. Logging locomotives were designed with failure in mind. Frames were reinforced, boilers were oversized, components were deliberately overbuilt. Derailments were expected. Track failures were routine. Unlike mainline American steam locomotives, these engines were built to be repaired and returned to service quickly, often far from any proper shop. In some environments, even logging railroads could not function. Frozen ground, deep snow, and swampy terrain made track laying impractical. Steam power adapted again, pulling massive sled trains across ice roads and raw ground. Though not locomotives in the traditional sense, these machines follow the same philosophy as the most extreme American steam locomotives: adapt to the terrain or fail.